What if the most painful love you ever lived through was not a mistake? What if it was a mirror? A mirror so clear that it shows you the parts of your heart you tried to hide. The old fear you never named. The hunger for reassurance. The quiet pride that wants to be chosen. The tight fist of control that says, stay, don't leave. And what if the real tragedy is not that someone didn't love you the way you hoped, but that you believed love was supposed to silence your fear instead of revealing it? Many people spend their whole lives asking, do they love me? Will they stay? Why am I not enough? But the Buddha points us to a deeper question. When feeling arises, what does your mind do next? Because in that next moment, the whole world of love is created or destroyed. If you have ever been shaken by a single message, a delayed reply, a tone of voice, a look across a room that felt cold, then you already know how powerful the mind can be. 1 second you are calm, the next second you are burning, and you think the fire is caused by them. But the Buddha taught a different way to see. He taught that suffering has a cause, and because it has a cause, it can end. Tonight, we will walk slowly through a teaching that can transform the way you love, not by making you cold, not by making you detached and distant, but by making you free. Free enough to love without begging, free enough to care without controlling, free enough to be close without losing yourself. So, let us begin where the Buddha begins, with the truth of the heart. Pause for a moment. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw unclench. And take one gentle breath in, and one gentle breath out. We are not here to judge our past. We are here to understand it, and understanding is the first door to peace. Welcome, dear friends, to Buddha Peaceful Mind. Wherever you are listening from, in a quiet room, in a busy city, on a late night walk, or in the middle of a heartbreak you don't know how to name, you are not alone. The Buddha's teachings were never meant to stay on old pages. They were meant to enter daily life, into the exact moments where we feel lost, reactive, afraid, or ashamed. If this space helps you breathe a little easier, and if these teachings touch something true inside you, you are gently invited to support the channel by subscribing. Not from pressure, but from gratitude, so we can keep sharing reflections that guide the heart back to clarity. Now, let us listen as if the Buddha were speaking to the human heart itself. The Buddha did not speak of love as a romance story. He spoke of love as a training of the mind, because what we call love is often a mixture. Tenderness and fear, care and craving, joy and grasping, devotion and demand. And that mixture is exactly where suffering hides. The Buddha offered a simple sentence that becomes a lamp. When this is, that is. When this arises, that arises. When this is not, that is not. When this ceases, that ceases. This is dependent origination, a clear map of how our inner world forms. In daily life, it means this. Your suffering is not random. It is built, link by link. And if it is built, it can be unbuilt. Not by blaming yourself, not by blaming another, but by seeing clearly what happens in the mind from the first contact to the final collapse. In love, we often think the problem is the other person, but the Buddha asks us to look closer. What is the process inside you that turns a moment into a storm? A glance becomes a story. A silence becomes rejection. A small disagreement becomes a threat to your identity, and suddenly, you are not only in a relationship, you are in a battle with reality. The Buddha called this dukkha, the unease, the stress, the sense that something is not okay. Even when things look fine on the outside, dukkha can still be alive in the heart. You may have someone, but you fear losing them. You may receive love, but you doubt it is real. You may be praised, but you feel you must keep proving your worth. This is not because you are weak. It is because the mind is conditioned. And the Buddha's path is a path of unconditioning. So we will explore love through three gentle lenses: impermanence, non-clinging, and mindful awareness. Not as philosophy, but as medicine. If you listen slowly, you may notice something extraordinary. The wisdom of love is not out there, waiting in another person. It is already within you, waiting for you to see. Many people treat love like a lottery. They hope the right person will erase their suffering. But the Buddha taught that happiness is a skill. Peace is a skill. Love, too, can be a skill. When you learn patience, your love becomes less reactive. When you learn mindfulness, your love becomes less blind. When you learn generosity, your love becomes less demanding. When you learn wisdom, your love becomes less possessive. The Buddha did not say, "Stop loving." He taught how to love without suffering. He taught how to love without making another person responsible for your inner world. This is the subtle shift, from love as need to love as offering. And offering feels lighter. Love, impermanence, and the hidden contract. The Buddha taught that all conditioned things are impermanent. They arise and pass. They change. They cannot be held forever. We hear this and we think, yes, everything changes. But in love, we do not live as if we know this. In love, we often sign a hidden contract with life. Without words, the contract says, "Stay the same. Don't disappoint me. Make me feel secure. Never leave. Fill this emptiness." And when life does what life always does, when it changes, we feel betrayed. But life did not betray us. Our misunderstanding did. The Buddha called that misunderstanding ignorance. Not ignorance of facts, but ignorance of reality. We forget that feelings change. We forget that people grow. We forget that bodies age. We forget that the mind is a river, not a statue. So we cling. And clinging turns love into a cage. A simple example. You meet someone. At first you feel warmth. You feel seen. You feel alive. Then, without noticing, the mind starts building a future. A perfect image. A promise in your imagination. And slowly, you stop loving the person as they are. You start loving the picture you want them to become. This is where pain begins. Because when the person cannot match the picture, when they are tired, busy, confused, human, you feel like something is being taken from you. But what was taken? Often, it was not love. It was your dream. The Buddha's teaching is not meant to destroy romance. It is meant to protect the heart from delusion. Real love sees clearly. Real love is awake. It does not say, "You must complete me." It says, "I will meet you with kindness while standing on my own feet." It does not say, "If you change, I cannot love you." It says, "I will love you without pretending you are permanent." It does not say, "Make me feel safe." It says, "I will learn to be safe inside myself and then share that safety with you." This is not cold. This is warm and wise. The Buddha also taught that clinging is fueled by craving. The thirst that says, "More. Mine. Again. Not this. Not now. Not me." Craving does not only chase pleasure, it also runs away from discomfort. In love, craving shows up as needing constant reassurance, needing control, needing certainty, needing the other to behave in a specific way so we can relax. And when we cannot get that certainty, fear appears. Let us be gentle here. Fear in love is common. Sometimes it comes from old wounds, sometimes from childhood, sometimes from past betrayal. The Buddha never mocked this. He simply pointed out the mechanism. Fear arises, then the mind reacts. And the reaction can create suffering for both people. So the question is not, why am I afraid? The deeper question is, when fear arises, can I stay present without being possessed by it? That is where freedom begins. In the Buddha's path, the goal is not to never feel fear. The goal is to not let fear write your next sentence. Because the next sentence becomes the next action. And the next action becomes karma, the pattern you repeat. When you see this, you stop thinking of love as luck, and you start seeing love as practice. A practice of honesty, a practice of patience, a practice of letting go. And that practice is a doorway to liberation. The cup of salt, how a large heart holds pain. The Buddha once used an image to teach his students. If you put a handful of salt into a small cup of water, the water becomes undrinkable. But if you put the same salt into a large river, the river remains sweet. The salt is pain. The water is the mind. When the mind is small, tight, self-centered, reactive, even a small pain becomes unbearable. But when the mind is large, trained in compassion, patience, and understanding, the same pain can be held without poisoning the heart. In love, you cannot always prevent salt from falling in. Words will be said, expectations will be missed, plans will change. The training is to become a larger river, and you become a larger river through practice, through breathing, through kindness, through seeing clearly. This is why the Buddha's path is not only about insight, it is also about the quality of the heart. The rope and the snake, how the mind creates suffering. There is a simple story often shared in the teachings. A traveler walks at dusk and sees something on the path. It is long and curved. In the dim light, the traveler thinks, "A snake!" In an instant, fear floods the body. The heart races, the muscles tighten. The mind begins to plan escape. The traveler may even scream. But then, the moon comes out from behind a cloud. The light becomes clear, and the traveler sees it is not a snake. It is only a rope. The rope did not change. The mind changed. This is what the Buddha wanted us to understand. In love, we often see a rope and call it a snake. A partner is quiet after work. We see a snake. They are losing interest. They are angry. They don't care about me. A message is short. We see a snake. They are cold. They are talking to someone else. A friend does not reply quickly. We see a snake. I'm not important. I'm being abandoned. But very often it is just a rope, a tired mind, a busy day, a moment of silence, a normal human fluctuation. The Buddha did not deny that sometimes there are real snakes. Sometimes there is betrayal. Sometimes there is harm. Sometimes you must step away. But he taught that the first step is clarity. Because if you see a rope and call it a snake, you will fight a battle that does not exist, and your own mind will suffer most. So how do we bring the moonlight of clarity? We bring mindfulness. We bring a pause. We bring gentle investigation. Before you react, before you accuse, before you punish with silence, before you beg for reassurance, the Buddha invites you to ask, what am I experiencing right now? Is it fear? Is it sadness? Is it anger? Is it shame? Is it loneliness? Then ask, what story is my mind creating? Then ask, what do I need in this moment that does not harm myself or another? This is the beginning of wise love. Imagine how many relationships could heal if we learn to pause at the rope and wait for moonlight. Not moonlight from the other person, moonlight from our own awareness. The Buddha once compared an untrained mind to a monkey jumping from branch to branch. In love, the monkey mind jumps quickly, from a text to a conclusion, from a look to a judgment, from a feeling to a demand. But the Buddha taught that the mind can be trained, and when the mind is trained, love becomes less of a storm and more of a steady lamp. Now, let us look at the Buddha's map of how a storm forms, because when you can see the storm being built, you can stop adding fuel. And then, even if the sky is cloudy, peace is still possible. The Buddha described a chain of causes inside us. It begins very simply. There is contact. A sound touches the ear. A word touches the mind. A face touches the eye. A memory touches the heart. Then feeling arises. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. This is important. Feeling is not yet suffering. Feeling is just a natural event. But then, if we are not mindful, feeling becomes craving. If the feeling is pleasant, craving says, more. Keep it. Don't let it fade. If the feeling is unpleasant, craving says, get rid of it. Fight it. Blame someone. Escape. If the feeling is neutral, craving says, I need stimulation. I need something. I need to feel alive. Then craving becomes clinging. Clinging says, this is mine. This is me. This must not change. Clinging creates a self around the experience. A self who is right. A self who is wronged. A self who must be chosen. A self who must be protected. From clinging comes becoming, the building of a future based on that grasping. Becoming is the momentum of identity. It is when you become the angry person, the jealous person, the desperate person, the person who can't sleep until they reply. Then there is birth, the birth of a new state, a new conflict, a new version of me in pain. And then there is aging and death, the decay of that state, the exhaustion, the regret, the mourning. This whole chain can happen in minutes, sometimes in seconds. Let's place it inside a common moment. You send a message. You do not receive a reply. Contact, a phone screen, a silence. Feeling arises, an unpleasant tightness, a small ache. Then craving arises. I need them to reply. I need to know I matter. I need certainty now. Then clinging arises. If they don't reply, it means I'm not loved. This relationship must make me feel safe. Then becoming. You start checking the phone again and again. You imagine them ignoring you. You build a story. You become the anxious self. Then birth. A new argument is born. A new mistrust is born. Then aging and death. The sweetness dies. The mind feels heavy. You feel ashamed. You feel tired. And still, the same pattern repeats next time. Now, the Buddha's teaching is not meant to shame us. It is meant to empower us. Because the moment you can see the chain, you can find the link where freedom is possible. The Buddha often pointed to the doorway between feeling and craving. Feeling arises, and there is a moment, a small, sacred moment, where you can simply know, unpleasant feeling is here. If you can stay with that feeling without turning it into a demand, then craving does not have to be born. This is why mindfulness is so powerful. It is not a decoration on life. It is the tool that breaks the chain. So, what does this look like in practice? It looks like breathing with your feelings. Instead of running to your phone, you pause. You feel the tightness in your chest. You soften your belly. You breathe slowly. You name what is present. Fear is here. Loneliness is here. Anger is here. And you remind yourself, this is a feeling. It will change. Then you ask, what would love do right now? Not romantic love, wise love. Wise love might say, let me not punish. Let me not accuse. Let me not abandon myself. Wise love might say, I can ask for clarity, kindly. I can take care of my own heart too. I can rest. This is how the Buddha brings love back to sanity. In this teaching, love is not a desperate hunger. Love is a calm strength. And the more you practice, the more you discover a surprising truth. Often, what you called love was actually fear asking for control. When fear is seen and held with compassion, love becomes cleaner, softer, more real. Now, let us hear a small story that shows the difference between pain and the extra suffering we add. Because in love, we often add the second arrow. The Buddha taught forgiveness as a way to release the mind from bitterness. But forgiveness is often misunderstood. Forgiveness does not mean what happened was okay. Forgiveness means I will not carry hatred in my body. You can forgive and still set a boundary. You can forgive and still leave. You can forgive and still say, no. This is wise forgiveness. In love, if you cannot forgive, you remain tied to the past. If you forgive without wisdom, you may remain in harm. So the middle way is forgive and act wisely. This is compassion with clarity. Pain is real, The second arrow is optional. The Buddha gave a teaching known as the simile of the two arrows. Imagine a person is struck by an arrow. That is painful. But then, because they are confused and frightened, they shoot themselves with a second arrow. Now they suffer not only from the first pain, but from the extra pain they added. The Buddha said that in life, we cannot always avoid the first arrow. The first arrow is loss, disappointment, misunderstanding, a harsh word, a breakup, a change we did not want. But the second arrow is the suffering we add. The story, the self-blame, the obsession, the endless replay in the mind, the hatred, the vow to never trust again, the belief that we are unlovable. In love, the first arrow might be, they forgot an anniversary, they spoke sharply, they needed space, they did not choose you. The second arrow is, I'm worthless. No one will ever stay. I must be broken. I will punish them. I will punish myself. I will make them regret it. The Buddha taught that practice is learning to not shoot the second arrow. How? By meeting pain with presence. By letting tears be tears without turning them into identity. By letting grief be grief without turning it into a life sentence. By letting disappointment be disappointment without turning it into hatred. This is the difference between a heart that breaks and heals and a heart that breaks and hardens. The Buddha did not ask us to pretend we are not hurt. He asked us to stop feeding the hurt with delusion. In the path of awakening, we learn to stay with the first arrow. We breathe. We feel. We allow. We speak to ourselves kindly. Yes, this hurts. Yes, this is human. Yes, I can care for this heart. This kindness is not weakness. It is intelligence. Because when you stop shooting yourself with the second arrow, you begin to recover your energy. And with that energy, you can respond wisely. Whether that means repairing the relationship, setting a boundary, or walking away with dignity. Here is a gentle practice you can try. The next time a painful moment happens in love, do not rush to fix it or explain it. Pause. Put one hand on your chest if you like, and silently say, first arrow, this is pain. Then say, no second arrow. I will not add hatred. I will not add shame. Then breathe, slowly. Even 3 breaths can change the direction of a whole night. This is how peace begins, not by controlling others, but by ending the war inside your own mind. Now let us explore something even deeper. Why do we cling so tightly in love? Often, it is not because we are greedy. It is because we feel empty. So the Buddha offered a practice to fill the heart, not with another person, but with goodwill. This practice is called loving kindness, and it starts with yourself. For the one who hurt you, if it is possible, and only if it feels safe, bring to mind someone who hurt you. Notice what arises in the body. Maybe tightness, maybe heat, maybe sadness. Do not force anything. Now remember, wishing them well is not agreeing with their actions. It is releasing your own heart from hatred. Silently say, may you be free from the ignorance that causes harm. May you be free from the fear that drives cruelty. May you find a path to peace. Now return to yourself. May I be protected. May I be healed. May I be free. Breathe. This is not for them. This is for you. This is the Buddha's medicine for the heart that carries old pain. Many people try to use love as a cure for emptiness. They think, if someone chooses me, I will finally feel worthy. If someone stays, I will finally feel safe. If someone loves me, I will finally love myself. But the Buddha taught that what you cannot give yourself, you will try to take from others. And when you try to take, love becomes heavy. The Buddha offered a different foundation. Let your own heart become a refuge. Not an ego refuge, a compassionate refuge. This is why he taught metta, loving kindness. Metta is not attachment, it is not possession. It is a warm wish for well-being. When metta grows, love becomes less anxious, because it is no longer begging for proof. It becomes like a lamp that shines by its own nature. Let us do a short metta reflection together. If you are driving, just listen gently and keep your eyes on the road. If you are sitting, allow your eyes to soften. Bring to mind your own face, as if you were looking at a younger version of yourself. The version who first learned fear. The version who first learned to doubt their worth. And silently say, may I be safe. May I be calm. May I be free from fear. May I learn to love without losing myself. Now, notice what arises. Sometimes there is warmth. Sometimes there is resistance. Sometimes there is sadness. Whatever arises, be kind to it. The Buddha taught that the mind can be trained like a garden. If you only water the weeds of self-judgment, that is what will grow. But if you water kindness, kindness grows. Now, bring to mind someone you care about, not necessarily a romantic partner. It could be a friend, a family member, a teacher, even a pet. And silently say, may you be safe. May you be calm. May you be free from fear. May you be well. Now, bring to mind the person you are struggling with, only if it feels possible. If it feels too hard, stay with yourself. If you can, hold them in your mind as a human being, with their own fears, their own confusion, their own wounds, and silently say, may you be free from suffering. May you learn to be at peace. May you find clarity. This does not mean you accept harmful behavior. It means you release hatred. Hatred burns the one who holds it. The Buddha compared hatred to holding a hot coal, hoping to throw it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned first. Metta gives you a choice. You can keep your heart open while also choosing wise action. This is an important point. Wisdom is not the same as tolerance of harm. A peaceful mind can still say no. A kind heart can still walk away. A loving person can still set boundaries. The Buddha did not teach us to be doormats. He taught us to be awake. Sometimes love requires staying. Sometimes love requires leaving. But in both cases, love requires clarity. Now let us hear a small story about holding things gently, because so many hearts suffer from holding too tightly. And the Buddha's wisdom is very simple. If you love something, do not crush it in your fist. Imagine you are holding a small bird in your hands. If you squeeze too tightly, you will hurt it. You may even kill it. If you open your hands too widely, it may fly away. So you learn a gentle balance. holding with care, without pressure. The Buddha's teaching on love is like this. When we love someone, we often squeeze, not with hands, but with expectations. We squeeze with questions. Where are you? Who are you with? Why didn't you reply? Do you still love me? Sometimes these questions come from genuine care, but often they come from fear, and fear squeezes. The more fear squeezes, the more the other person feels trapped. And what happens to trapped beings? They pull away. Then our fear increases. We squeeze more. They pull away more. This is how love becomes a struggle. The Buddha taught that clinging is suffering. Not because closeness is bad, but because clinging is a kind of violence. It tries to force life to behave. The middle way is to love like holding a bird, with tenderness, with presence, with respect for freedom. Respect for the other person's freedom, and respect for your own freedom. This is the beauty of non-clinging. Non-clinging is not indifference. It is a love that does not demand ownership. So what does non-clinging sound like? It sounds like, I care about you, and I also respect your space. I miss you, and I can hold that feeling without punishing you. I would like reassurance, and I can ask kindly without threatening. I love you, and I do not want to control you. And if the relationship is not healthy, non-clinging also sounds like, I release what harms me. I do not need to stay in pain to prove my love. This is wise love. Now there is another reason we suffer in love. We confuse love with identity. We think, if they leave, I am nothing. If they choose someone else, I am rejected. If I am not wanted, I am not worthy. The Buddha taught that this is the illusion of a fixed self. He taught that what we call self is a flow of conditions, feelings, perceptions, memories, habits. When we cling to a relationship as who I am, we make it too heavy. A relationship becomes a mirror, but it becomes also a battlefield for ego. Then small things feel enormous. A small conflict feels like a threat to your existence. So the Buddha invites you to loosen identity, not by becoming empty and cold, but by seeing you are not your fear. You are not your craving. You are not your jealousy. These are passing states. When you remember this, you can say, jealousy is here, instead of, I am jealous. You can say, fear is here, instead of, I am fear. This is a quiet revolution. Because when you stop being your emotions, you can hold them with kindness and choose a wiser response. Now let us move into a tender teaching. Even the sweetest love will change. And this is not a curse. It is an invitation to cherish without clinging. The Buddha taught impermanence not to make us sad, but to make us awake. Let us hear a story of impermanence that opens the heart to acceptance. It is the story of a mother named Kisa Gotami. From time to time, the Buddha invited his disciples to return to something very simple: the breath. In love, the breath is your anchor. When you feel the wave rising, before you send the message you might regret, before you say the sharp sentence, before you close your heart, try a 3-breath reset. First breath. Notice the body. Feel your feet. Feel the contact with the ground. Second breath. Notice the feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Just name it. Third breath. Notice the intention. Ask, what am I about to do? Will it lead to peace, or more fire. This practice takes less than 10 seconds, yet it can change the direction of your whole relationship. If you forget, that is okay. The Buddha did not ask for perfection. He asked for returning again and again. Each time you return, you strengthen the mind's capacity to love wisely. And one day, you will realize the pause has become your new habit. That is liberation in daily life. Kisa Gotami and the mustard seed. Love, loss, and acceptance. Long ago, there was a young mother named Kisa Gotami. Her child became very sick and died. Her grief was unbearable. She carried the child from house to house, begging for medicine, begging for someone to bring her child back. People felt compassion, but no medicine could change death. Finally, someone said, "Go to the Buddha. He may help you." Kisa Gotami went to the Buddha, crying. She asked him to bring her child back. The Buddha listened, and then he said something gentle. "I can help. But first, bring me a mustard seed from a home that has never known death." Kisa Gotami felt hope. She ran to the village, knocking on door after door. At the first house, they gave her a mustard seed. But when she asked if their home had known death, they said, "Yes, we lost a parent." Or, "Yes, we lost a child." She went to the next house, and the next, and the next. Every house had known loss. As the sun began to set, Kisa Gotami stopped running. She sat down in silence, and something opened in her mind. She realized, my pain is not unique. This is the nature of life. All beings who love will lose. All beings who are born will die. The Buddha did not take her child away. Life had already done that. What the Buddha took away was her loneliness and grief, and her delusion that her life had been singled out for cruelty. He gave her the wisdom of impermanence, not as a cold truth, but as a shared human truth. And in that shared truth, her heart could begin to heal. Why is this story important for love? Because every relationship in some way will change, sometimes through breakup, sometimes through distance, sometimes through aging, sometimes through death. If we love, we will grieve. But the Buddha taught that grief can be met with understanding, and understanding can soften the sharp edges of sorrow. When you know impermanence deeply, you do not love less. You love more honestly. You stop postponing kindness. You stop waiting to say what matters. You stop using love as a weapon. You cherish. And when change comes, you mourn without drowning. You remember, this is the nature of all conditioned things. Now, this does not mean you should accept mistreatment. Impermanence is not an excuse for harm, but it helps you stop begging the world to be different. It helps you release the fantasy that if you love correctly, nothing will ever hurt. The Buddha did not promise that. He promised something else, that you can be free from unnecessary suffering. And a huge part of unnecessary suffering in love comes from the stories we attach to pain. So, let us talk about stories, because love is not only an emotion, it is also the meaning we give to events. A delayed message can be nothing, or it can become a story of abandonment. A disagreement can be normal, or it can become a story of being unworthy. The Buddha taught us to see thoughts as thoughts, not as truth. And that is how we begin to break the spell. Let us now enter a practice the Buddha taught: right speech and deep listening. Two medicines that can transform relationships, because many hearts do not break from lack of love, but from lack of mindful communication. The Buddha taught a path called the Noble Eightfold Path. Among its steps is right speech. Right speech is not about being polite. It is about being conscious. The Buddha said we should speak words that are truthful, kind, helpful, and timely. In love, this is everything. How many relationships suffer because we speak in the heat of craving? We say things to win. We say things to punish. We say things to force reassurance. And later, we regret. We realize we were not speaking from love. We were speaking from fear. So, here is a simple practice. Before you speak in a difficult moment, pause, ask, is what I am about to say true? Is it kind? Is it useful? Is it the right time? Sometimes the most loving thing is not to speak immediately. Sometimes the most loving thing is to breathe first. Deep listening is the other half. Most people do not listen to understand. They listen to defend themselves. They listen with a weapon in their hand, ready to strike back. But the Buddha taught listening as compassion. When you listen deeply, you are not only hearing words, you are hearing the feeling underneath. Under anger, there is often hurt. Under criticism, there is often fear. Under silence, there is often exhaustion. When you listen this way, you do not have to agree with everything, but you can respond to the real need. This is how conflict becomes a teacher. Here is a small story. A couple argues often. Every argument begins with the same topic: time. One person says, "You never make time for me." The other says, "I work hard for us. Why don't you appreciate that?" The topic seems to be time, but underneath, the first person is saying, "I don't feel chosen." And the second person is saying, "I don't feel seen." If they stay on the surface, they will fight forever. But if they listen deeply, they can speak the truth underneath. I need closeness. I need respect. I need rest. I need reassurance. The Buddha taught that suffering is often a misunderstanding, not because we are foolish, but because we are not mindful. So in love, try this. When you feel triggered, do not rush to prove your point. Try to name your inner state first. Say, "I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling overwhelmed." This is brave. This is honest. This is soft power. Because when you name your feeling, you reduce the need to attack, and you invite intimacy. Now, we must also speak about a hard truth. Sometimes the other person is not able to meet you with mindfulness. Sometimes they are trapped in their own patterns. Sometimes they are not safe. The Buddha taught compassion, but he also taught wisdom. Compassion without wisdom can become self-harm. So what is wise love? Wise love means I do not abandon myself to keep someone else close. Wise love means I can forgive, but I do not have to continue a harmful relationship. Wise love means I can wish you well, even from a distance. This is a mature love, not dramatic, not desperate, not violent, just clear. Now, let us return to the heart of your original reflection. That love is a mirror. The Buddha would agree. Because relationships are powerful conditions. They bring out what is hidden. When you are in love, your deepest attachments come to the surface. Your deepest fears come to the surface. Your childhood wounds often come to the surface. And this is not a punishment. It is a chance to wake up. So let us explore 3 common mirrors love shows us: craving, aversion, and delusion. In simple words, wanting, pushing away, and misunderstanding. And we will learn how to meet each one with mindfulness. This is where love becomes a path. The cup of salt, how a large heart holds pain. The Buddha once used an image to teach his students. If you put a handful of salt into a small cup of water, the water becomes undrinkable. But if you put the same salt into a large river, the river remains sweet. The salt is pain. The water is the mind. When the mind is small, tight, self-centered, reactive, even a small pain becomes unbearable. But when the mind is large, trained in compassion, patience, and understanding, the same pain can be held without poisoning the heart. In love, you cannot always prevent salt from falling in. Words will be said. Expectations will be missed. Plans will change. The training is to become a larger river. And you become a larger river through practice, through breathing, through kindness, through seeing clearly. This is why the Buddha's path is not only about insight, it is also about the quality of the heart. The 3 fires in love: wanting, pushing away, misunderstanding. The Buddha spoke of 3 roots of suffering: greed, hatred, and delusion. In love, these often appear in gentle clothing. Greed appears as wanting attention, wanting certainty, wanting to be special, wanting to feel chosen. Hatred appears as pushing away discomfort, pushing away vulnerability, pushing away the other person when they disappoint us. Sometimes we push away by attacking, sometimes by silent treatment, sometimes by leaving before we can be left. Delusion appears as misunderstanding impermanence, misunderstanding the other person's mind, misunderstanding our own emotions, believing every thought is true. Believing love should always feel good. The Buddha taught that these 3 roots are like fires. They burn the heart. But he also taught that a fire needs fuel, and the fuel is unawareness. So the practice is to bring awareness. When wanting arises, you can say, wanting is here. When pushing away arises, you can say, aversion is here. When misunderstanding arises, you can say, confusion is here. This naming is not magic, but it is powerful, because what you can name, you can hold. And what you can hold, you do not have to become. Now, let us give this a real situation. You see your partner laughing with someone else. You feel a wave of jealousy, contact, feeling. And then the mind tries to jump to craving and clinging. I need to be the only one. If they enjoy someone else, I am not enough. Now pause. Name it. Jealousy is here. Fear is here. Then bring inquiry. What am I afraid of? Often I am afraid of being replaced. Then bring compassion. This fear is old. This fear wants safety. Then bring wisdom. Do I have evidence? Can I speak kindly later? Can I care for myself now? This is the path. Jealousy does not have to become an argument. It can become a teacher. Another situation. Your partner criticizes you. You feel hurt. You feel anger. Contact. Feeling. Now the mind wants to push away pain by attacking. How dare you? You always do this. You never appreciate me. Pause. Name it. Hurt is here. Anger is here. Breathe. Then ask, what part of me was touched? Often criticism touches an old belief, I am not good enough. Now you can respond differently. I hear what you're saying. I also feel hurt. Can we speak gently? This is courage. Now, another situation. Your partner asks for space. Your mind panics. Contact. Feeling. Craving. Don't leave. Tell me you love me now. Clinging. I cannot be alone. Pause. Name it. Anxiety is here. Abandonment fear is here. Then place a hand on your heart. Breathe. And silently say, I am here. I will not abandon myself. This is perhaps the deepest practice in love, not abandoning yourself. Because when you can stay with yourself, you stop using another person as your life raft. Then love becomes sharing, not survival. Now, let us explore a very important teaching, the Buddha's view of happiness. Many people think happiness comes from getting what we want. The Buddha said happiness comes from understanding. Understanding what? Understanding the nature of experience. When you understand that feelings are waves, you stop drowning. When you understand that craving is a fire, you stop feeding it. When you understand that clinging creates suffering, you learn to hold gently. And when you understand that love is not ownership, you begin to taste a quiet joy. A joy that does not depend on someone staying exactly the way you want. This joy is called peace. And peace is the true fragrance of wise love. If you're finding value in this reflection, you may gently support Buddha Peaceful Mind by liking this video. Not as a demand, but as a small offering that helps these teachings reach someone who may be suffering tonight. Now, let us go deeper into the practical side. How do we train in this day by day? The Buddha's answer is simple. Practice in small moments. We will explore a daily training for love. Mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feeling, and the pause before action. Because love is not transformed by one big decision. It is transformed by many small awakenings. Daily training, the pause, the breath, and the honest question. The Buddha taught mindfulness in 4 areas: the body, feelings, mind, and mental qualities. In love, these become very practical. Mindfulness of the body. When you are triggered, your body tells the truth first. Your stomach tightens. Your chest feels heavy. Your throat closes. If you wait until you are already shouting, it is too late. So train yourself to notice early signals. When your body tightens, pause. Feel your feet. Relax your shoulders. Take one slow breath. This is not spiritual decoration. It is nervous system wisdom. When the body relaxes, the mind can see more clearly. Mindfulness of feeling. Name the feeling. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Then be curious. Where is it in the body? How intense is it? Is it changing? This curiosity turns you from a victim into an observer. Mindfulness of mind. Notice the state of mind. Is it anxious? Is it angry? Is it restless? Is it soft? Just knowing the state reduces its power. Mindfulness of mental qualities. Notice what is present. Is there craving? Is there clinging? Is there compassion? Is there patience? Now, here is a powerful practice in love. Before you speak or act, ask one honest question. Am I acting from love or from fear? Fear can look like love. Fear can say, I just care so much. But underneath it is control. Love can look quiet. Love can say, I will speak later, when my heart is calm. When you ask this question, you begin to see your patterns, and when you see them, they loosen. Another practice. When you want to demand reassurance, try giving reassurance to yourself first. Say, I feel insecure right now. This is a feeling. It will pass. I can take care of myself. I can ask for what I need kindly, not desperately. This is self-respect, and self-respect creates a different kind of love. A love that does not beg. Now let us talk about illusions in love. One illusion is the idea of the perfect partner. Another illusion is the idea of perfect harmony. The Buddha taught that conflict is part of conditioned life. Two people bring two histories, two nervous systems, two sets of habits. So the goal is not to never have conflict. The goal is to not harm each other when conflict comes. This is a huge difference. The Buddha taught that hatred never ends through hatred. Hatred ends through non-hatred. In love, this means when the other person is reactive, if you respond with more reactivity, the fire grows. But if you respond with steadiness, the fire can settle. This does not mean you swallow everything. It means you do not throw gasoline. You can say, I hear you. Let's pause. Let's speak later. This is wisdom. Now let us hear a small story about a broken bowl. Because so much suffering in love comes from expecting perfection. The Buddha's path is not perfection. It is awakening. And awakening often begins when something breaks. A monk had a simple bowl he used every day. It was not perfect. It had a small crack. Each day he washed it gently, used it, and placed it carefully back on the shelf. One day, a younger student asked, "Why do you keep using that cracked bowl? Why not get a new one?" The monk smiled and said, "I already see it as broken, so when it breaks, my heart does not break with it." This is a profound teaching. Most people love as if everything is unbreakable. They love as if the relationship should never change, should never disappoint, should never crack. But human beings are cracked bowls. We have wounds, we have moods, we make mistakes, we carry past pain. Wise love does not deny this. Wise love includes this. When you see the relationship as a living thing, beautiful but fragile, you become more careful with your words, more grateful for ordinary days, less shocked when challenges arise. This does not mean you accept disrespect. It means you stop demanding fantasy. In Buddhism, this is called seeing things as they are. And when you see things as they are, you can love what is real. A real person, a real moment, a real imperfect heart. Now, some people fear that if they stop clinging, they will stop caring. But the opposite is often true. Clinging is narrow. Clinging says, "Give me what I want." Non-clinging is wide. Non-clinging says, "May you be well, even if you cannot stay." Non-clinging can include grief, but it does not include obsession. It can include sadness, but it does not include self-destruction. This is a very high form of love. Now you may ask, how do I know if I am loving or clinging? Here are some gentle signs. When love is present, you feel more spacious. You want the other person's well-being. You can speak honestly without threats. You can be alone without collapsing. You can accept no without revenge. When clinging is present, you feel tight. You feel desperate. You need constant proof. You interpret everything personally. You punish with silence or anger. You forget your own dignity. Again, this is not for judgment. It is for clarity. The Buddha's path is always about clarity. Now, let us explore the wisdom of not self in love. This is subtle. The Buddha taught that suffering increases when we make everything about me. In love, we often do this. We say, "They didn't reply because I'm not important. They were distant because I'm not enough." But often, the other person's behavior is about their own mind, their stress, their confusion, their fatigue. When we take everything as personal, we add suffering. Not self does not mean I don't exist. It means I don't have to carry everything as identity. It means I can see my partner's mood as weather, not as a verdict on my worth. I can see my own mood as weather, not as my true self. This creates freedom. When you stop making every cloud a prophecy, you live with more peace. Now, let us bring this wisdom into a concrete practice, a mindful conversation. Imagine you are about to have a difficult talk. Before you speak, sit quietly for 1 minute. Feel your breath. Notice your intention. Ask, what do I want from this conversation? If the answer is, I want to win, pause. If the answer is, I want to punish, pause. If the answer is, I want to be understood and I want to understand, you are closer to love. Then speak slowly. Use I feel more than you always. This is a Dharma practice in daily life. Now we will explore a final, deep lesson. That love is not only about how you treat the other person, but about how you meet your own inner child. Because the strongest storms in love often come from very old places. And the Buddha's path is a path of healing. When you are calm and alone, you may feel wise, but when you are close to someone, old patterns appear. This is not failure, it is exposure. Intimacy exposes the places where you learned fear. Some people learned that love is inconsistent, so they become anxious, they chase, they test. Some people learned that feelings were not safe, so they become cold, they distance, they hide. Some people learned that they must perform to be loved, so they become perfectionists. They try to be flawless, and when they are criticized, they collapse. The Buddha taught that we are shaped by conditions. This means your reactions are not random. They are conditioned patterns. And what is conditioned can be transformed. How? by bringing awareness and compassion to the pattern again and again. In Buddhist practice, we do not hate our patterns. We study them. We say, "Ah, this is the fear of abandonment. Ah, this is the need to control. Ah, this is the shame that says I am not enough." And then we breathe. We speak to ourselves the way a wise parent would. We say, "I see you. I'm here. You don't have to panic. We will handle this with dignity." This is self-love in the Buddha's sense, not narcissism, but care. Now, let us offer a small story. A young man came to a teacher and said, "I fall in love quickly, and then I become jealous. I become angry. I push people away. I hate myself for it." The teacher asked, "When you become jealous, what do you fear?" He said, "I fear being left." The teacher asked, "And when you fear being left, what do you believe about yourself?" He said, "I believe I will not survive." The teacher smiled and said, "Then your jealousy is not about your partner. It is about the frightened child in you who thinks abandonment is death." This is the heart of the matter. Many love storms are not about the present moment. They are about old memories living inside you. The Buddha's path helps you bring the frightened child into the light, not to shame them, to soothe them. So, when you feel a strong reaction, try this. Ask yourself, how old do I feel right now? Sometimes you will realize, I feel 6. I feel 14. I feel like the day I was rejected. Then you can give yourself what you needed then. Presence, comfort, truth. This is deep healing. And when you heal, your love becomes more stable. Now, we must also remember, you are not responsible for fixing someone else. The Buddha taught compassion, but he did not teach rescuing. You can support someone, you can encourage them, but you cannot meditate for them. You cannot awaken for them. So wise love includes letting others face their own karma. This is not cold. This is respect. Now, let us speak about one of the most beautiful teachings of the Buddha: equanimity. Equanimity is a steady heart. It is the ability to love without being thrown around. Equanimity says, I care, and I accept what I cannot control. This does not mean you don't act. It means you act from calm, not from panic. Equanimity is the mature form of love. It is the love that does not collapse when things change. Now, we will slowly move toward the closing reflections. But before we do, take a moment. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let the heart soften. Remember, love is not meant to be a prison. Love is meant to be a path. A path where you learn patience. A path where you learn truth. A path where you learn to meet your own mind. If these teachings feel supportive, you may leave a gentle comment or a simple like. It helps the channel reach more hearts, and it is also a way to practice generosity, a small, quiet offering. Now, let us close with a guided contemplation. How to carry wise love into your life, starting tonight. Carrying wise love into daily life. Let us sit together for a few moments, as if the Buddha were near, not as a distant figure, but as a presence of clarity in your own heart. Bring your attention to your breathing. Inhale slowly. Exhale slowly. Now, bring to mind a recent situation in love that was difficult. Not to punish yourself, just to see clearly. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe you felt ignored. Maybe you felt rejected. Maybe you felt angry. See it gently, like watching a scene. Now ask, where was the first contact? What was the first feeling? Was it a tightness? A heaviness? A heat in the body? Now ask, where did craving begin? What did the mind demand? Did it demand reassurance, control, an apology, a promise? Now ask, where did clinging begin? What identity did you build? Did you become the abandoned one, the unworthy one, the wronged one? Now breathe and whisper to yourself, I see the chain. And because I see it, I can soften it. Now imagine the same scene again, but this time you pause at feeling. You breathe. You name it. Fear is here. Hurt is here. Anger is here. And you let it be there without turning it into a weapon. Then you respond with wise love. Maybe you speak later, not now. Maybe you ask kindly. Maybe you set a boundary. Maybe you step away from harm. Maybe you simply rest. Notice how different the ending feels. This is the Buddha's gift. Not changing the world outside, but changing the world inside. Now bring to mind this simple intention. May I love without clinging. May I speak without harming. May I listen with compassion. May I be a safe home for my own heart. May I meet others with kindness and wisdom. And if you are holding heartbreak, repeat this softly. May I be gentle with my pain. May I not shoot the second arrow. May I learn what this teaches. May I walk forward with dignity. May I find peace. Now, one final truth. When you meet yourself with understanding, you stop chasing love like a rescue. And then love becomes what it truly is, a sharing of two human lives. Not a transaction, not a war, not a test. In this way, even the relationships that end can still be teachers. They can still open the heart, not because you should accept suffering, but because you can transform it. This is the wisdom of the Buddha. Suffering can become a path when met with mindfulness. Thank you for spending this time with Buddha Peaceful Mind. If you would like to continue walking this path with us, you are warmly invited to subscribe. Not as pressure, but as companionship on the journey. Until we meet again, may your heart be steady, may your love be wise, and may you be free.